I'm Sharon Birch, and welcome to Lesson 1, our framework, model, and map. When I first became an entrepreneur in 1984, I started my business part-time on the side. My full-time job was as a director of nursing at a long-term care facility, and a friend had given me a massage. She was in massage school and it was actually a method called Traeger bodywork. She gave me a session and I was like, wow, that is amazing. I want to learn how to do that and offer it to people too. So I went through the training and I began to practice from my home part time. And I did not have even a thought about, well, how does this fit into my nursing license? Or it was just a separate thing altogether at that time. And I did have three entrepreneurs in my family that I could look at their models. One of my grandfathers was a baker and had his own bakery. The other grandfather was a farmer, and then my dad was a part-time farmer on the side of his full-time job was as a high school teacher. So I had their models, but none of those businesses were anything like doing massage. Uh, that was so much more personal and intimate and one-on-one with my customer. And so I just had to make it up. I kind of look at what other massage therapists were doing, how they were doing their businesses. But I kept noticing that they're not nurses. They're not doing it the way it seemed like a nurse would do it, like I wanted to do it. They didn't have the same kind of boundaries or awareness of ethics. Now, of course, that's changed over those years. Massage therapists and body workers have great ethics now, but it was like we were in the same world, but doing the work a little differently. So over the years, I found more and more ways to integrate nursing framework in with my businesses. And that spans many different kinds of businesses: education businesses, consulting businesses, and coaching businesses have been the three that I've primarily done, and including being an author and self-publishing books. I would say that would fit into the education realm. So I found that there is a way. Not only is there a way to have a framework, but it's actually very important and helpful to bring my nursing framework in to support me as a nurse entrepreneur. And I want to teach you and guide you to do the same thing. So a question I get often is, how can I confirm that my business idea fits within my requirements of my license in my state and my state's Nurse Practice Act? And so this is something that you can do. You can be, I would say, 99% sure that you have got it figured out on your own. And I'm going to give you a tool to help you with that. If you use this tool and you still have questions, you can post them in the discussion space below this video at the bottom of the page. And you could also get some legal advice. Okay. Of course, we aren't lawyers, so we can't give you legal advice, but we can give you our opinion after talking to many lawyers about nursing practice in businesses. And we can point you to resources. So let's just go over this for a minute. The State Nurse Practice Act defines what nurses who hold your license are required to do, or they must do, and also what they must not do. So those are like two boundaries: what you have to do and what you can't do. And then there's a lot of space in between. And that's the space that you practice in. That space is defined by the Nursing Scope and Standards of Practice. Now, the American Nursing Association has one for generalists, and then they also have one for each of the different specialties that are recognized. I use the Holistic Nursing Standards of Practice because I'm a certified holistic nurse. But I would use that standard of practice even without being certified. You, Being certified is not required to call yourself a specialist. If you have taken extra training and you focus your practice in a particular niche or specialty, like holistic nursing, for instance, you can use that scope and standards to guide your practice. And in fact, you'll benefit from doing that, okay, with or without the certification. So we have our nurse scope and standards of practice that guides us for that middle path. Then for any given specialty, most of them will have different position statements. You can also read and have that inform your practice. In the case of the holistic nursing specialty, the American Holistic Nurses Association has a position on the role of nurses in the practice of complementary and integrative health approaches. And I think many of you might be interested in that. So in the PDFs that you see below this video, download them all, of course, and one of them has the link to Anna's position statement that you would probably like to reference. You also might want to reference, I would say, I strongly encourage you to reference the Code of the Code of Ethics and any nursing theories that guide your practice, and bring those into your business. It might slow you down. It might feel like it slows you down a little bit at the beginning, but sometimes going slow at the beginning actually gives you the tools and the confidence you need so you can speed up down the road and be more efficient. So here's an example of how our framework around this works. You can just think of it as a road with the boundaries of what you must do on one side over here and what you must not do over here. And here's that road in between those boundaries that I was just mentioning, okay, where your standards of practice, position statements, code of ethics, and theories are guiding you down the road and helping you move forward. And here's a more simple way to graphically imagine it, if you prefer this way. Same information, it's just a different way of making it more clear. You've got your state nurse practice acts on both sides of your boundaries, and then your middle path is your standards of practice. And this is how you can claim your lane as a nurse entrepreneur and do it with confidence. So now that was the framework. I want to go through the models that we use. So I've developed this model based on the nursing process of ADAPI. You've all heard about that. And together with the business development process. Put them together, and the process starts with this circle, empathize, which is the first step. And then we go through our nursing process here, assess, diagnose, know our customer's outcome that they're desiring, or some people might call that the goal, customer's goal. Then you make your plan, you implement the plan, evaluate. Now, all of that should be very familiar to you as your nursing process. And then we add to that, and you might be surprised to know that this is the standard business process as well, okay? Then when you evaluate, the next step we add to that is to reflect and refine. And this comes from the holistic nursing standards of practice. We reflect on our evaluation, we refine our process, and then we also make sure that we and our customers are safe and secure. And then once we've done that, this is sort of a retrospective of looking back over what happened and what the evaluation was. Okay, so then we've made that assurance, and we go forward into the implementation again. And you'll receive more about that as we go along. Another model we use was developed by the Entrepreneurs Institute, which is a global company that I'm a mentor in. Okay. And their website is right down here at the bottom. Oh, let me hide this. There we go. Entrepreneurs, plural, institute.com. You might want to look that up. And they have a fabulous model for starting a business and growing and developing a business. And this is greatly influenced what I am sharing with you. And it's very energetic. It's based on the 5 elements in Chinese, traditional Chinese medicine. And there's a lot to it. I'll share it as we go along. It's great. This is another part of the Entrepreneurs Institute model. It's called the value cycle. And I'm sure you've seen business mentors talk about having a funnel where you have your cold prospects, they call them, entering the top, and they get to know you, and then they become a hot prospect or a customer and a fan. That's sort of the funnel mentality. The Entrepreneurs Institute teaches that there's more of an ecosystem approach, okay, like the water cycle in nature. And it takes into account that not everybody wants to be your customer or is, interested at any given time, that you need to include in your cycle building trust with them, having a team that is working together and trusts the product and you as a leader, and many other factors. So this ecosystem type of model is also built into what you'll get in the incubator. We also have built in the Stanford Design School design thinking process. And this is a very well-known process in the business world. It also starts with empathize and then follows these other 4 steps. And the URL is down here, or you can just Google Stanford Design Thinking Process. But I've circled some of the main points of it, which are to interview your potential customer with empathy, to seek to understand them, to, when you're making your ideas, consider all ideas worthy, and focus on yes and thinking. So in other words, not discarding ideas too soon, thinking, yes, this is a good idea, and what else, and what else, and taking that approach to add value to your products and services. And then in prototyping, keeping it simple, we call it a minimum viable solution that we test at first. Keep it simple. They actually say fail fast and iterate quickly, which is what I also teach. So that's one of the models that's incorporated in what you're going to get. And here I'll pause to just say that you can't just think your way to discovering your niche in your business, or finding that your niche is your market, your audience, and what you're going to do to help your audience. That is sort of a core question of every business, and you can't just get there by contemplation. You have to take action and test it, modify it, and repeat it. Okay. Same thing as what I've said before. Just keep remembering that you're going to make offers. You'll sell to some people. You won't sell to other people. You observe, you modify, and all of that takes action, not just contemplation. We also use this model, which is the innovation process. And this is from a nursing standpoint. So, in patient care, we're looking at making our practice decisions based on evidence-based practice. I guess that would be right here, evidence-based practice, where we have solid factual foundations to our actions. And this takes time to develop. In a business, we don't leave that. We keep that as part of what we're doing. But because we're constantly innovating, we're going to be looking at this middle ground where the evidence meets the innovation that we're testing. Okay. And we're operating in that overlap space so that as a nurse entrepreneur, our evidence basis is both what other people have done and proven, and also our own proving process. In fact, we call this incubator the proving stage of business development for this very reason. Another model we use that we have incorporated into the incubator is called the Lean Canvas for Entrepreneurs. You can Google that too, or you can go to this website, leanstack.com. This is another very well-known model for developing business plans and for deconstructing business ideas into their key assumptions. So the merging of all these different models comes together, and we offer it to you through our Liberated Nurses map and our business incubation process that incorporates all those things I've just reviewed. And this is a little glimpse of a simplified version of our map. In actuality, each of these columns is a full business stage, and we represent it, we teach it in a full course. So the first stage is when we prepare. We haven't started our business yet. We're just preparing ourselves, more like preparing our garden soil before and choosing good seeds before we plant the garden. And we teach that process in the Nurses Business Starter Kit. If you haven't had that kit yet, you're in luck because it's included in this incubator program. Also, so then the next stage is actually stage 1. The business incubator program represents this stage, and this is where you're proving your business idea and validating it. The next stage is you're growing your business, and then the third stage is scaling it, and there are actually then 5 more stages after those 4. And you'll notice that the income goes up with each stage, and you might be interested to know that the steps that are recommended are different for each stage. So what works in stage 1 doesn't work in stage 2. You need a different set of skills and tools in stage 2, and the same thing happens in stage 3. So that's why it's really important to have an evidence-based map that you can follow so that you know when to take what steps and when certain steps will work and when they won't work for you. Okay. So our incubation process uses the whole model of the 10 steps to a proven solution that incorporates the nursing process and the business process. And so in your packet or in your downloadable materials below the video, you'll see I've given you a checklist of the milestones or the actions that you need to take for each of the first 2 stages. This is part of the page. I'm only showing you part of the page here, but you'll have the whole page to download. This is for the stage you're in, which is prove. And this one is for the previous stage, which is to prepare for growing your business. So I recommend strongly that you print both of these out, that you go over the prepare steps, make sure that you complete them as soon as possible before you get too far along in the incubator into the prove steps. Okay, because if you miss in any stage, if you miss any of the previous steps, you'll find sooner or later you have to go back and pick them up. So you may as well pick them up as soon as you can. Okay, that's the end of this lesson. Please give us your questions in the discuss forum below. Thanks.